Welcome back. I'm joined live now by Dr. David Mosely, who is the Dougherty County School System Interim Superintendent. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, one thing I have to note is that your background, you have been a teacher, a basketball coach, an assistant principal, a principal, and a superintendent. So I wanted to know, why did you decide to come to Dougherty County?
Well, two reasons. First of all, I like to work. Retirement is sometimes not what it's made out to be. You get bored. I thought I had something to offer, and I'm excited to be here. We've got some good things going, and we're going to be able to pull this thing off.
Speaking of some things going, we have a little graphic to throw up. We are certainly facing a lot of issues right now. Certainly we know all school systems have various issues across the entire nation, but here's some of what we're dealing with right now. We've got Title I funding / refunding, school closures, CRCT investigation, and communication issues that are kind of multifaceted. Communication between you and the board, the media and the public, you guys and the public, the state and the media. So let's talk a little bit about, when looking at all of these issues, what do you decide to tackle first and why?
Well, the first thing that I've attempted to do is to stabilize the ship. In other words, let people know that why I'm here, what I'm all about, what we're going to attempt to do, make them feel comfortable with my presence and that we're not here to rip, rear, and tear, that we're here to repair some damage. Mm-hmm. Then once that's established, and I think we have, I've been in every school as of yesterday, all 31 various buildings. Met with most of the staffs, met a lot of nice people, and in all that, again, attempting to establish some credibility and some leadership issues that go with that. Then after that, my next goal is to get us out of trouble with the State Department of Education. We don't need that hanging over us, and hopefully through hard work, doing things the right way, we've already convinced them that we're doing some of the right things, and it's a matter of time before we pull ourselves out of this quagmire.
All right, well, there's certainly a lot to tackle, and right after the break, we're going to have a much longer portion of the interview talking about exactly what they're tackling, communication issues, and even more, so stay tuned. Welcome back. We are joined by Dr. David Mosely, who is the Interim Superintendent for the Dougherty County School System, where we're talking about some of the challenges facing the system in general right now, certainly what some would deem as an uphill battle. Let's just talk about a few of the things you guys are tackling right now. Title I funding has been in the news a lot. You guys recently had a win with the state saying, you know what, you can pay back less than we originally told you to. Tell me about some of the steps you guys are taking to fix that situation. Well,
number one, we brought in an experienced director who has a lot of credibility and knows the programs and knows what you can do and you can't do. And he, along with the State Department gentleman that's working with us, have identified some areas, and we've tried to get out in front of some of this that we know are coming. From example, the Saturday school. We were going to be cited eventually on that because some of the things didn't fall within the guidelines. And bottom line on all this stuff is you got to play by the rules. And we haven't done that, and we are from this point on. And the State Department, I think, has recognized that. They've released some of our funds, and we plan to be a good student and a good learner and a good listener and play by the rules.
So because of this, are you now going back and looking over all of the funding to make sure that everything is now in compliance with the rules?
We have, along with, there's a State Department monitor here that has pinpointed a number of issues that we have to deal with. So between our people and the State Department people, we're on top of it, and unfortunately, there's a lot of money that has been misspent, not stolen, not misappropriated, but just spent on things that didn't fall within the guidelines.
Let's move on and talk about some of the school closures. We know that when it was announced the possibility of a school closing or being repurposed for another matter, parents packed out the meeting room so much so that they had to change the venue for the second meeting. Parents are very passionate about which schools their children goes to, the proximity of driving, the teachers. Talk to me about the potential for school closures and what the public needs to know about that.
Well, first of all, in the school business, the two most controversial issues that we ever deal with are rezoning and school closure. If parents are happy with where their children are going to school, they don't want them to leave. And that's, you know, and I would feel the same way. Parents don't look at the big picture like the school board has to look at and like I have to look at. They are interested in their child, their school, their situation. And I understand that. I would be the same way if I wasn't in the business. However, we have to look for the good of the whole. And the simple thing here is that we have about 12 to 1,500 empty seats that we're paying electricity bills for. We're paying utility bills, all the other things that go to keep these buildings open, and we need to fill up those seats, which requires closing some of our older, outdated schools in order to do that.
Understandable. So just a pure business decision. It has no reflection on the teachers, the administration. It's strictly a business decision, which is why you guys are figuring out how to maximize classroom space and potentially.
To a large degree, it's an economic decision, but at the same point, we try to take into consideration now to make students as happy and parents as happy as we can within the framework of what we have to work with.
Absolutely. Another thing we want to talk about is communication issues. There are some times where members of the media get information before you guys do, and then when we call you for an answer, you sometimes say, we didn't know this was happening, and then you get the information. There are times when the state has told maybe a former superintendent something but not the board, or the board something that the superintendent didn't know. So when it comes to communication, sometimes it seems like everyone is not always on the same page at the same time. What can you say is being done about that to make sure you guys are all on the same page and that appropriate information is getting out to the public?
One of the biggest things I found upon arriving here, there was a tremendous disconnect of information sharing. The right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. Consequently, a lot of these problems were a result of that. And we've tried to, number one, begin telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. When you ask a question, if the media knows something or ask you a question, tell the truth. It may be something that you are embarrassed about or you feel terrible about or whatever, but the bottom line is that if it happened, it happened. And one thing I've learned in this business over the years is that you have your sources.
Yes, I do.
You're right, absolutely. And many times you do know things, not necessarily before we know them, but at the same time. Now, for example, yesterday, almost the very minute that the mail arrived on my desk about 3 additional.
You got some phone calls.
I had a reporter in the office, and this is something we have to deal with. But our people have got to learn that communication is a key to establishing a good organization and to getting the information out in the proper form. And it's not that we're always happy about what we know, but you move on, do what you need to do, move on, and do the right things, and it'll all work out in the end.
Well, we certainly appreciate that because we know that we are constantly knocking at the door asking questions. And, you know, we do a lot of positive stories for the Dougherty County school system. However, people tend to harp on the one negative that we may do. If you do 10 positive and 1 negative, they're going to focus on that one. So we're going to wrap up our time, but is there one thing that you would like to leave parents and the community with, knowing the job that you have stepped into and what you have to do? If you want to look into that camera over there and just tell them what you're working on right now.
I have found so many good people here that want to do the right thing, and that's from principals, central office staff, classroom teachers, all the way through the organization. And those people working in harmony with leadership will get it done. We're in a hole, but we can dig out. And I see a bright future for this school district if we can stick together and have the support of the community. And nothing would please me more than to be able to tell a parent that we have a school district here that you can be proud of. We want your children here. We want to do our best to do you a good job and to be honest and above board in the decisions we make and present a good image and just do it the right way.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We certainly appreciate it, and I hope to have you on in a few months to update us.
You got it.
All right. Sounds good. I'm going to throw it over to Chief Meteorologist Mike Morrison now with a look at the